Inside Improv with Stacy Halal, Joe Bill, Elise Rodriguez, and special guests, Susan Messing and Rachael Mason.
Hello.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's our opening. It's Inside Improv.
I gotta say, it's like CNN for improv.
So
I was like,
fancy.
Jesus, you gave it so much integrity.
Joe
what the
Bill,
fuck?
that shirt is awful.
Yeah, it's like your headshot. You look nice. In real life, you don't look so nice.
I'm just gonna sit here and let you all
Take
talk.
it in.
Yeah, it's Friday. It's Inside Improv. We're back. Took a little
And we
time
are the
off.
voices inside of Stacy Halal's head.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably pretty accurate, actually. If someone were to say, would you describe the voices in your head as Susan Messing and Rachael Mason? I would probably be like, yes, that sounds about right.
I hope it's a good day.
Bad cop and worse
Well,
cop.
let's bring everybody on because I already spilled the beans about our guests. Here they are, Susan Messing, Rachael Mason. We've got Joe Bill and Elise here as well. Elise, were you laughing at the way John said Rodriguez?
Yeah, I was laughing at the way he said Elise, actually. Because the Rodriguez was good, and we've also focused so hard on the Rodriguez. It's like, Elise Rodriguez.
Oh, Elise. Anyway, welcome. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I don't know how the weather is where you are, but it is so weltering here in Portland, Oregon, as if it's Miami.
Aren't you on fire?
And we're on fire. Yeah, there's
Are you on fire? How close?
not.
I didn't know.
Is it as far?
East of Eugene, mainly. So
Okay.
south of here, southeast.
Southeast of Portland. Yesterday was our first day we saw smoke and haze. It's mostly been blowing the other way. But yeah.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's rough. Climate change is real, y'all, and get your vaccinations. So
What?
Yes, please.
What?
Yes,
Yeah,
Elise.
they're giving vaccinations against climate change now.
that's right. Elise, I know that you're in Florida
combo.
where COVID doesn't exist, but
No.
everywhere else we should be.
Ron DeSantis is a human piece of shit.
He's a human piece
We
of fucking
in Spanish
shit.
we call him Ron Desastre, which means disaster.
Big disaster, right? Like that's almost redundant, but more so. It's like worser. You know what I mean? That guy's a fuck turd to the core. He and Abbott. I want them to I want us to have something like The Hague. You know that we can take them to and charge them against crimes against humanity and go away forever. I do, because that kind of willful, obtuse behavior is insanity. They make women, they're going to cover my shoulders in a yearbook fucking picture, but they're not going to make them wear masks. Like, this is insane thinking, right?
Do you know
That makes you feel like you go crazy, right?
Yes.
Some email was leaked in the Republican Party that was like, we want a healthy ruling class. Like, they really want a certain
What does
tier
that
of the-
even mean? What are you talking
It
what's a
literally
healthy
means
ruling
they want poor people to die is how they feel.
Well, they can serve them and make maybe minimum wage. Maybe.
We're an oligarchy. We're not a true democracy.
Yeah, a lot of fuck.
No
There's
arguments
alcohol right
here. So welcome. It's Inside Improv.
Oh my God, you guys,
Everybody,
this is so
let's
much
talk
fun.
about
Friday
improv.
afternoon. Friday afternoon fun times.
Friday afternoon. Oh, well,
Fun
you know,
times.
that
You guys know.
I have noticed.
Here's hope for the future. Here's no.
No,
Please tell me
please,
what you
no,
noticed.
please.
Is
go
it
ahead.
about the future?
It's about
No,
the
we need-
present.
we need
So
hope
tell
for-
us hope for the future.
A bunch of kids got together to do a class action lawsuit against people who were against the idea of climate change. they use the premise life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that if you do not take care of the environment, you will be impinging on our rights. And I mean, it's like fourth,
That's a
fifth,
pretty
and
good
sixth
constitutional
graders.
argument, actually.
Yes,
says
it is.
the lawyer, Elise.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were gonna serve Obama because, you know, he okayed the pipeline, whatever. But then they saved it and delivered it to Trump. And now hopefully Biden will deal with it.
All right. That is hope for the future. Because I feel like right now, I've been telling everybody, I feel like we are hopefully, in a way, at the end of Act 2 in a typical 3-act structure where we thought we were coming out and it was going to resolve. But now we've been set backwards and we feel further away from the goal than we were before.
Time is a flat circle.
Have you ever heard of Angels in America? This bitch a mini series. It ain't a play. Like something's is gonna be longer than that. It might be like the Handmaid's Tales of real, you know?
Grey's
Yes.
Anatomy.
12 monkeys. 12 monkeys.
Yeah, it should take place in a hospital because those motherfuckers have to deal with those fucking willfully ignorant people who fucking take up everybody's bed so that like somebody who has a heart attack who is vaccinated doesn't get to live. Yeah.
Well, in our
That was harsh.
yeah, but
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow.
great sound effects, John. Thank you. We were thinking, you know, we were going to open August 21st. We originally were going to open on the first weekend of October, because I wanted to see what would happen with the summer and the variants. And then I was like, everything's feeling great. I'm being the most cautious person. Let's open August 21st. And then, no, that was the people that I was listening to were accurate that the summer was going to bring up another wave. But then we were just thinking, like, what if we do a show that's set in a hospital so that we can all wear our masks on stage and not even have to worry
Really good
about
idea.
it? Yeah.
The answer is always yes, and you're always in the operating room, and somebody's always about to die, and then you always have a dilemma, and the dilemma is always about, do you let them live or die, or whatever. It could be your laundry or, you know, anything that's going on in your house.
Impeccably horny
your
moment.
refrigerator.
One super horny moment by a refrigerator.
Yeah, and that's in the operating room. There has to be a refrigerator. You have to be like this on it, like
Yes.
yeah.
And there's an emergency
or
room
if
full
you
of
have an
wacky
island.
neighbors right next door.
What'd you say, Joe?
I said, and there's an emergency room full of wacky neighbors ready to enter at any time right next door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Cast me in that show. Cast me in
Okay,
that show.
come on out. We got a guest room, Rachel. Come on out. And you
I
and I
play
will
a
have that horny
good-
moment. I will.
Good wacky neighbor horny moment happening.
I'm on
Yes.
it. Let's do that. We got Michael Greenbaum, who is laughing at fuck turd.
Yes, I don't say tard because it's not right, but thank you for enjoying fuck turd, because I think that like that sucks, you know. That's
you did in
about as
fact
harsh
say
as
it, though. You did
What?
just say it.
What'd you
No,
say?
she said fuck turd. She said turd, didn't she?
She did.
It's an
Okay.
upgrade.
That's the
It
point.
is.
It's a yes.
I know,
It
no,
is.
it's very deliberate that I say fuck turd. I do not say the other. No, nope. It is a turd, and when people say tard, I correct it.
Right.
I immediately correct it.
Rachel's like this
It's
too.
not funny. I just immediately correct it. That's what I'm saying. I'm correcting
That's
it.
right.
So.
We're all working on ourselves all the time, and
Yes.
fuck third
It's a
is an
process.
improvement.
Yeah.
I did not
process.
make a slip. That was placed intentionally to say that
Contextually.
you say some things. Yes.
Yeah. And fuck turd is a better word
Yes.
in every way. Like there's no
Yes, and
loss
that's
in
what I
making
do.
that upgrade. It's actually an improvement.
My
Thank
dad's
you.
favorite swear word was asswipe. He loved to call people asswipes. And I think, like, yeah, asswipe out a car window is such a good, like, clean swear word.
You know what I love? I love the term "what the shit" instead of "what the fuck."
Yes.
And a lot of people get upset
What is
about
this
it, but
crap?
I feel like "what the shit" is important.
It is. What the fuck has been unfortunately overused, like a Billy Joel song, like Cold Spring
And
Harbor was great,
semantically,
and then
they're
later on it
different.
just got wrong. Like it was like, stop it. Like, don't do that. Why are you with Christy Brinkley? Stop it. Stop it. That's why your music is bad now, because the two
Cold
of you
Spring
just
Harbor?
don't create art.
Cold Spring Harbor was recorded at the wrong speed. That's why he sounds the way he does. But he liked
He's
it.
fucking best album
And
in the
kept
world,
it.
Cold Spring Harbor.
All right, Rachel, how hardcore Billy Joel fan are you that you knew that piece
I
of
am
trivia?
from Long Island.
That's what I was gonna say.
We are supposed to love him like New Jerseyites. New
Well,
Jerseyans.
we're supposed to love Bruce, and I'm
Love
kind of like, I'm
Bruce.
from New Jersey, and I'm like,
Exactly.
okay.
Or if you're from
Indiana,
Indiana, you love John Cougar Mellencamp and Hitler.
Like, that's right. That's right. That's right. She's been sitting the fucking fan on your show.
Wait, okay. Totally in on the Bruce and the Billy Joel. Followed that. What happened to John Cougar Mellencamp? When did he become a Nazi? What did I miss?
Did he become a Nazi?
No, I wasn't saying he was a Nazi. I was
He's
like,
not a Nazi. We got to
in
stop
the Midwest,
this. This is a
Hitler
rumor.
Indiana
Everybody knows
has
about
Nazis.
it. Vice just wrote an article about it.
John
Let's
Cougar
stop the rumor.
Mellencamp.
John Mellencamp is not a Nazi. He's not the greatest guy in the
definitely
world,
not a Nazi.
but he's not a fucking
No.
Nazi.
No, he
And I
is.
don't
he
even
is-
know if he's a bad man.
He's like the Ram Dass of
Like
Indiana.
Josh.
Keeping it light, and I kid you not,
Keeping it
everyone
light.
out there, right before we started this, I said, this is the kind of light conversation that gives me life. And we had been talking for 20 minutes.
Well, you're a fucking rock star, so like you can add
Sorry,
a
you
level
can't
of like
stay, Josh.
integrity to our shit that we don't even know about. You're like, legally? I'm like, what? I was like, you're
Sorry,
fucking
for
we
rock
all of our
star.
offended you,
viewers.
Josh.
This is going to be about improv by the time we're done.
Isn't
Is
it?
It is about improv.
Fucking
Isn't
improv.
every
We're
part of
doing
this
it.
about
Did I
improv
just say
already?
improv's
You
dead?
don't see
I'm
us
just
fucking
saying
chaos? This is
I'm
improv.
kidding. I'm
The
kidding.
literalists.
Improv is not dead. Is this about improv? Because improv's not dead.
I would say that Inside Improv is right now.
Not dead.
This is
Not
about
dead.
showing, not telling.
It's more inside, and then the improv will come later.
Did you just say
Improv's
life
not
is a
dead.
herald?
It's not dead.
Life is a herald that isn't
You
dead.
guys, life's a herald, and improv is not dead, and the world isn't ending. So stop it right now. Everybody, get along.
Let's make comedy when the world is burning.
Burning.
Fuck you, John Mellencamp.
This is John Mellencamp's fault.
He is not a Nazi.
He is not a Nazi.
That was a callback.
He is a modern day Woody Guthrie.
Is he?
Ew.
His daughter was on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Yes, she was.
all I-
And I felt
that's all I
kind of
have to add
bad
to it.
that her
Teddy.
whole identity originally was created, Teddy, created like as an, like, I'm not just an accessory of a famous guy. I'm Teddy. I'm an accountability person. You know what I mean? Like, I felt bad that some people have to go through that.
I know he has a son named Hud, and that's enough.
Susan.
That's your depths of compassion. And for those who don't know, we didn't start streaming immediately, which obviously we should have. But before we got live, Susan was talking about how she compares everything in her life to finding something worse. It could always be worse.
Like, like what I said. you
Yes.
know?
So.
Yeah.
So to ask a boring question, at the risk of Rachel being like, boring, no.
Boo!
Rachel, an initiation is just the beginning. Shut up. Be nice.
Yes,
Boring is a
and.
gift.
So,
Always go first.
So you were both in Chicago, for those who don't know you. And how long have
still here.
how long have the two of you known each other?
Rachel, you would know better. It was because it started with your classes.
Yeah, I took class with Susan in 1996, and it was like the first day of class, and we were like, "Oh, we're married."
Yeah, apparently that's what happened.
That is.
Amazing.
She was like, "Do you want to get high before a class?" First
I
day
did
of
not
class.
say that before.
Yeah, you did. And we sat in your car and got high. Maybe it was after class. I don't know.
It
but
was
like,
after
we were
class.
friends.
And I'm not saying that to cover up for myself. There's no fucking way in my entire life
It's
that I've
legal
gotten
in our
fucked up
state.
before a class. What?
It's legal in our state. And I don't mean we got fucked up. I mean like
No,
a toot,
no,
you know?
but I can't teach high. I can create exercises high, but I can't teach high. There's a difference for me.
Right, high.
So
No,
we'll
my shit is
agree.
just not possible.
So immediately after class, you all got high together. in the
Yes,
car.
immediately. I'm sure
And
immediately.
we got married.
And engaged, yeah.
And
Yeah.
have been friends and lovers ever since.
I was told we were lovers, but we are not lovers.
No, but just romantic partners.
We only
Yes.
safety scissor.
We safety scissor.
full
We safety scissor. All of our
Safety scissor.
scissoring is
Yeah.
very, very safe, CDC
Very
compliant.
safe. Consensual.
And wrapped in whatever you did to wash your groceries when you first thought you were supposed to wash your groceries.
Vinegar
We're
water.
doing that 10 times.
Sanitized, the little spray. Uh-huh.
Vinegar water.
Very
Spray,
clean. Yeah.
bug bites.
So that was 90, you said 97?
96, 97, right about there. Yeah.
Susan, were you on Second City main stage at that time?
I was on main stage in 98 to 2000.
Okay.
So
It was a
that
big
around that
deal.
time.
It was a big deal because she didn't do Turco and went right to the stage.
But that was like a little era where Second City pulled some annoyance talent in, right? Was that?
Nick was directing main stage. And I actually was going to leave and go back to Los Angeles because I thought to myself, well, that'll be a place to challenge myself as an artist to see if I can be an artist in LA. And Christina Dunn Anderson said, well, what would keep you in Chicago? And I was like, an artistic challenge. And she said, well, why don't you ask me? I didn't say it like that. And so
Yes,
I
you
said,
did.
she said, well, my friend Christina said, well, why don't you ask Mick? And I said, no fucking way, because I've never asked anybody for anything in my, like, I won't even ask to do craft service on your films. Like, if you think I'm good on my own accord, thank you, God bless. I can't even believe you chose me. But for the most part, like, I won't go, I'd love to be in your movie. Like, it's just never been me. Which is why I said the same thing about weed, because I could not smoke weed before a class. Like, it's just not possible for me. But I can smoke weed any other time. I'm just making that very clear. That I'm not saying I smoked a hit at, what is it, 10 of 4, 2:30. I took a hit. Okay. Anyway, so I'm being honest, right?
Thank you.
And now
Thank
I
you
don't
for
even
being
know where
honest.
the story just went.
Yeah, well, it's because you smoked so much fucking
That's-
weed right before you
Well,
got
now
on
I just
here.
called attention to it, and it's really embarrassing. Oh man!
No.
Good thing it's good thing I'm not presenting a paper about like infectious diseases right now. You know what I mean? Because
But
I'd be
will
like,
you?
I took a hit.
But will you?
So you were describing that Mick, you had never asked anyone for
Yes.
anything.
So I thank you very much.
You're
so
welcome.
I, so I
Susan
saw
does
Mick,
not
and I
like to do that.
Yes.
I never do it. Never, ever, 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 ever. So Mick, I went up to Mick and I said, this is going to be the worst 2 minutes of my life and yours. If there is a list, because Christina said, why don't you ask for Mick to put you on some sort of list of people to be considered? And I'm like, I can't do that. But then I saw Mick and I said, oh God.
Short list, and they,
I said,
they
yeah, I
tease you
said,
with
I
it.
said, if there's a list of people to be considered, would you please put me on that list? And as I was speaking to him, he was pulling a list out of his pocket. And he said, I just went to Second City today. They bought you. They didn't buy Eddie yet. He's in Turco.
Amazing.
So that was a very weird day. And a lot of days like that in my life have occurred in different areas of my life that I've been like, oh, this is weird. So that was weird, but it still was a horrible moment. And actually, viscerally, I'm actually feeling it as I explain this to him, like, ew, 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 ew.
Nick
You know
still
what I
loves
love?
you.
But I've seen so many people like ask to be like cast in a show. Like, can you please cast me in the show? And I've always felt so weird about that. I've never
I think
understood
there's
that.
a difference between what Susan did and what you're saying. I think saying, will you I would like to express my interest,
Yeah,
and
of course.
would you consider me when you're making those considerations? I think I'm always like, great, now I know you're interested, you're on my radar, but if somebody's like, can I be in your
Totally.
show, then I feel like saying no.
Yeah,
I feel
me
even
saying
if-
that was to totally validate what you were saying, and I agree totally with what Stacey's saying. But I've seen none of what of what Susan just described, and always the other
Yes.
end of it.
Yeah.
And well, people
And
have asked to do
anybody-
my show all the time too. I mean, it's you just
Yeah.
people ask you to do things, and sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. And it might just be where you are in your life at that moment. Certainly not. I certainly don't think people should not be able to say it. I have no judgment about that. As a matter of fact, I'm impressed with people who are able to
Advocating
say, "This
for
is what I'd
yourself
like."
is important.
Yes.
And it has to be said that especially
It's
in the
just not
late
natural.
90s,
Say
especially
that
in the
again,
late
Joe?
90s, especially in the late 90s, there was nobody funnier in Chicago than you. A couple as funny, but nobody funnier or more multi-talented than you. And look at that face. Come on.
She's like, oh.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
as you were even describing it, I was even getting that sense of like it was all bubbling to the surface because it was right. It was an obvious
Nessie's
choice.
still here. She's a friend of Second City. You've been 12 years in. Why don't you come over? I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was the
That's
time.
very nice, Joe Bill. I feel weird, but thank you.
I know, but it's just true, Susan. And your like singing skills, like you're like there was a time where I could improvise a song with you, and because of you, I was part of the greatest improvised singing duo in the world because you're a fucking genius improv singer, and I'm still
don't
doing
feel
it.
So
I know you
Susan
don't,
was my
but-
teacher, right? And like she was like, you have to go see. You have to go see. And when I saw her, I was like, yep. And I got to learn from her too. And
Susan
Like-
was
Do I have cancer? I
Yeah,
must have
nope.
cancer.
We're
You guys
gonna-
are
we're gonna-
saying the nicest
Susan,
things.
Susan was in the first Second City show I ever saw, and
Oh,
was
wow.
in
You're dead,
The
and
one
this
that
is
I
hell.
yeah, and the one that made me suddenly that made me buy into the Second City
Hell
world,
yes.
and
She
it was I think it was in between Psychopath Not Taken and 4.0 because so there's sketches from both that I remember. But yeah, it was you, Stephanie Weir, Rich Talrico, TJ Jagodowski, Tammy,
Kevin Dorff.
and Kevin Dorff.
Kevin Dorff, very
I
much
mean,
so. I just spoke to Kevin yesterday.
Aw,
Powerhouse.
He's
amazing.
the best. He's the best. He's if Kevin or I call each other, something's up. Like it's what I mean? Like it's like boom. Like we're like because we don't fuck around with that shit. You know what I mean? Like if I said, Mitch, I need you to bring me the van, no joke. Like if I told my team, if I called up my first improv team and said, you guys, because it's Blue Velveeta, I'm like, you, and this is what's left. And I was like, you guys, you got to bring the van. Let's just fucking do it. They would do it. I think they would, and I would do it.
They would.
So
Yep.
there's a growing disdain for improv teams, the
Yes.
structure of it, for a lot of really valid reasons. And
Do what you want.
somebody was recently posting like I think Velvet Wells was asking who's been a guest here and co-host here several times, like what are the benefits? And I didn't know how to describe that sense of like war buddy loyalty that you build with this set period, group of people that lasts for some reason the rest of your life.
They're there to be part of your journey. Whether you choose to sign up for a repeat is your own choice, I guess. But I was thinking about the people in my life, and it's so generational and it's so layered and it's so old. And I'm sure you all recognize this in your life, who you add from certain times, and some of them kind of get pulled out and some of them stay forever, and whatever the reason being that for you is part of your journey. But yeah, there's nothing better than those guys I would have done anything for. I had nothing but time to get better with them. Nothing but time.
I'm paraphrasing Susan, but she said something to me a long time ago that was like, we're a tribe that put itself together, like this group of people who aren't afraid to make something up out of nothing. Like together and find a theme. Like that camaraderie, that like desire to put something where there was nothing. It really is like you form these bonds. Like,
yeah, you're really not interested.
Like it makes I got your back not a cliche.
Right. And the way you just did this, so we've just gone back to in-person rehearsals, but we're fully masked, and Kristen and I are alternating coaching. So she was teaching some viewpoint stuff, and so I'm like, I'm going to do this workshop that you're leading with our house teams, and just the walking around and stopping and making eye contact and holding eye contact until it feels too uncomfortable and then move on. I haven't done that in so long.
It's powerful shit, especially when it's all you've got are eyeballs. How fucking great is that? It's kind of creepy, though. It's a little creepy. It's a little creepy.
But
it's
like,
a little creepy.
Right, it is. That's where the cult piece comes from.
Because that's
right?
where you fuck it till it's dead, right? That's a little creepy. And then you're like,
Speaking
they're
of
dead,
dead.
and I'm sorry.
Speaking of dead, our dead guru, Del Close, used to
Del
he
mind
said
fucked
something
me.
once.
Okay, I want to hear all of these things. Let's go.
Yep.
Say that, Rachel.
Susan first. Susan
No,
first.
you go ahead, Rachel, and then we'll follow up
You
with
go first,
Susan's
Rachel.
mindfuck. Yeah.
I'm glad that we cleared up what that term was, because I totally misheard what the fuck Susan just said.
Mindfuck.
Mind
fucked me.
fucked. I did not fuck
Yeah.
Del Close. Again.
Yeah, Del
that
fucked us
never
all,
happened.
but in here.
And you know what? If it happened, I would absolutely say it. And I certainly didn't encourage it, and it never fucking happened.
Yeah, never
But
happened.
anyway,
Yes.
it never
So
happened.
Del used to say at the top of a scene, like, when you and I look at each other, that's the only thing that's real. Everything else is made up. And I think that's cool.
It is.
Not to be reductive.
No, not at all. Just sounded serious. You
It
sounded
is
really
kind
serious.
of like this
It's
is an art
honest.
form.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
It's
I think we all kind of just had that moment right after you described it. I think we all just kind of like, whoa.
and then
Yeah, exactly.
And stoners.
all those exactly. But all those moments were just rushing in my head. So like I looked at one person and I was overwhelmed with the desire just to hug her. Like the way her eyes looked like such a smile, and I was just overwhelmed with affection for her. You know, the next person I saw, I could tell he was like, I'm not going to be the one to look away. But like, and he knew I knew that. And we were like, you know, like there was just so much
playful.
connected story in happening without anyone having to say or do anything. So
Physical
That's what
intelligence.
Physical intelligence. I was just about to say that. That's physical intelligence.
it's unbelievable.
And that merely needs to be justified versus here's my invention and then let's fuck it till it's dead and prove your invention. I mean, there's something already going on there, and you could even see it in just eyes, and you created an entire story around it, just like watching like TV in another language where you turn down the volume and you just watch them and you create dialogue. It's
And
because
you know
you're
what's
following the
happening.
physical intelligence. Yeah, it's physical intelligence. It's now shit. And
You get
it
to-
makes this life so much easier. The audience isn't like, oh, I can't wait till you prove your thesis. They're like, why is she standing like this? You know what I mean? And then somebody is inspired by that, and they can tell me why, and I get off on that just as much. I'm like, aw, you told me why I'm standing like this. I must be Coach Johnson. Aw, you know what I mean?
So that's exploring and heightening rather than like
You're
inventing
exploring
and
and heightening.
justifying.
You are. You are.
You are. You are. You are.
I'm gonna bite you.
You are. I'll bite you.
All right, so Susan, now is the time
Yeah.
for Del Close's mind fucking of you.
Yes. How
Tell
did he
us.
mindfuck you?
Well, I would go over to Dell's occasionally, and he couldn't really smoke, but he would try to with me. You know, he'd take one puff or whatever. But I would try to put pot in things. So, well, not as many. He still wanted to smoke it. But anyway, so I would go over and talk to him, and he would clean out the one mug he would clean, and he would show me that this was a clean mug. And he had this fancy new, I guess, the precursor to a Keurig, you know, kind of one of the first personal little coffee things. And he was pleased with it, and would make me coffee, and we'd sit at the one clear spot on his table. And one day we were talking about something, and I really didn't talk much with Del because Del was so fucking smart. You didn't want to sound like a fucking idiot when you were with him, because if you had read a book, he has a first edition because he, mind fucked the author, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like he knows, he knew everybody, and he had done everything.
Have to say anything.
Yeah,
right.
He had done all of it. Yeah, he had done all of it. So anyway, so I'm sitting there, and he looks me straight in the eye. I think that's what it reminded me of, that and Del. And then he put his hand over mine. And then we were holding hands for was probably 2 minutes to maybe 3 minutes in silence, which is a very long time, And then I just looked at him very directly and said, well, that was quite a mind fuck. And he was like, he's Del. That's the story. That's all I got.
What was happening in, like, what were some of the millions of things that ran through
the
your head?
Millions of things that, like, the last 20 seconds of your life, where every time you've had a bad exchange with someone from Pakistan about your luggage at Cleveland and you're an asshole. Yeah. My fast one was, you have turned off yourself emotionally, and I am emotionally evolved, even though I'm intellectually stupid. You are fucking me in your own way, because you haven't fucked someone in so long, because you've lived in semi-squalor and not put himself first. Like, it wasn't important to him. Like, when he wore a new shirt, like, you could kind of see him sort of change because he was wearing a new shirt. And I just saw Elaine May, and I had a thing, and she never loved me, and so I wasted the next couple decades. A bunch of shit like that. Wow. That's what you see. You see the and you see it all, and you think to yourself, Susan, you're not that stupid, even though you're with a really, really smart man, and that's probably why I said it was such a mindfuck. I've never said this story like out loud. Like, that makes it sound like this is okay, like any of it. But please know this, I was at least 20 something years old. 24, 25, I'm sure.
Yeah.
14.
I mean, Joe, the world that we the most you had was a pager, and that's because you did voiceovers, or somebody was a doctor that you knew and they had pagers. So nobody, like, face to face was a big fucking deal. And it's something we're starting to sort of even forget a little bit, as we've become so desensitized in a sense of being in our little pods, It's so good to see each other, and we appreciate each other so much, but it's not something that happens that often, It's always a special occasion when I get to see Rach, or any of you for that matter. I saw Joe Bill behind my gate. I was like, Joe Bill, behind my gate. And then I saw him at Shuba's. You did Louder Than a Mom. You did such a good job.
Martyrs.
Yeah. But to see someone is an event, I think.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't take that. I don't think I ever did take it lightly, but now I really don't take it lightly.
Well, in those moments, that's where bonding happens, right? When we sing in unison, when we're in a theater and we breathe in unison, when we smell each other, like, all these hormones and bonding hormones are released. And just to get back to where this sort of started, was this idea of a team, right? When you play with people over and over and over again, you have all of these experiences where I think you bond on almost a familial level.
Mm-hmm.
When my dad died.
Thing is,
what?
Well, I was just going to say that, like, and when anything went down, the community in the pre-COVID times, we went to Susan's house. Like, anything, like, Susan's home was our home. If we were in trouble, if something big happened and we all needed to talk about it, like, Susan's house is where you went. Like, when your father died, didn't your whole team go?
I was just about to say, when my dad died, Jay came and picked me up in his, like, Eldorado or some sort of impossibly long car from the early 70s, and brought me home, where there was a party waiting for me, because that was our community. And it just was. And I'm not saying that it can't continue to be. It's this world is so huge now. But even then, even internationally, we feel tiny, don't you? Joe Bill goes all over the fucking world, right? Don't you feel like it's tiny? Yeah. It's still tiny. I mean,
yeah, my goal is to make the world smaller. I don't know what that means, but I know if I'm doing it or not. And so, like, but making the world smaller means like finding other people on your team, finding other people on your tribe.
This
like
tribe we put together.
Yeah, it's a
That's
tribe.
a
Yeah, it's
chosen
family we choose. Yeah, yeah.
And that's Katie Michaels, who was one of our kind of original Curious ensemble people, one of our first employees to do a ton of admin and really shaped a lot of what Curious is, has moved to LA. And just a few months ago, she had a meeting with a manager she may sign with who said, "Oh, Curious Comedy, I took a class with Stacy in Vancouver, BC." Like
Amazing.
which is ridiculous that those connections keep being, and the longer you do it, the more those connections happen. So I feel so torn about, there's so many positives, right, in terms of the professionalization of the improv scene, right? Having HR and having policies and having boundaries and having organizations support boundaries and people speaking up and all these things that are so critical and important. But there is a little bit of that family loss of the good side of family that comes from having.
I want to be devil's advocate and say familiarity breeds contempt.
Right.
So,
Right.
like
I
toured
was
for
going down the
almost-
same thought process.
I toured for almost 5 years, which is longer than like anybody tours. And being in a van with people, like, and she wouldn't mind me saying this, but like someone I profoundly love, like thought they were supposed to get the single, like because they're 3 and 3. Mick fought for that gender parity. Like I was supposed to get the single, and she called me a fucking cunt to my face. And I was like, oh my God, like what is happening to us? Like we're a family and we are now treating each other like family.
Right.
Like, fuck you, cunt. I get the single tonight. Like we, like we need rules because
Right.
like, I'm so glad the stage manager was like, Jenny gets the single. Both of you are rooming together, like,
Right.
let's
And
deal with
also
it.
families are fucked up and dysfunctional
Yes.
and
Yes.
have a lot of deep shit and can make your blood boil in a way that nobody else can. So yeah, it's powerful in both its good and its bad for sure.
Can I
Well,
tell you
there's
something?
family and there's friend. I feel like there's a distinct difference. There's always
Yeah,
family
well-
and there's friends. And there's friends that come into your, then you call them a friend because technically you're not related by blood, but they're familial, right? In the sense that like I have friends that are familial to me where I can't have all of the emotional connections that I could have with my really phenomenal friends. But the comfort that I have with the familial relationships is very different than the one that I have with the friendships.
Yeah.
Well,
So
the friendships
it's-
were by choice. So so if it doesn't work out or if it becomes abusive, there's a part of you that thinks to yourself that what is your role in this, even though it might not be you. And that's why, I always thought Friends had to be historical. Is it historical or historic? Like that they stay forever?
I just want to say there's a new Lizzo song, by the way.
I don't know.
We have an answer.
With Cardi B.
I know.
You don't know?
I heard it on the
Yeah,
I
radio.
don't know
definitely
which
with Cardi B, whatever we're doing.
I love you.
It's Cardi B.
I'm so sorry.
Cardi B.
My son just came into the room to proudly tell me there is a new Lizzo song.
Awesome. But it was actually
Good
Cardi B.
parenting.
Yeah.
But I don't know which one of historical or historical, permanent,
Well, now I don't even know.
enduring, forever enduring is what you're meaning by your friendships, Susan.
Yeah, but I feel like that you have the ability to decide if you want to re-up that friendship. And I never thought in my life you could do that. I thought it was like, oh no, you've known them, therefore you have to forever because they are your friends. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no, because my whole thing is commitment and recommitment to shit I don't like to make it work. You know what I mean?
But you have to leave room for transformation.
Yeah, and sometimes people go to a place that I guess wouldn't serve me very well if I kind of revisited that now. Which, by the way, there's nobody on deck. I'm just saying, if there was, I'd be like, oh well.
But I think, and Elise, you were talking about like friendships that feel familial. Like you and I feel like when we met, we had a very similar feeling the way that Susan and Rachel and Joe and I obviously, we're just instantly family. Like Joe is my family, no doubt about it.
There's a word, there's an Iranian word that specifically Gosh, I'm gonna ask Daniel. There's an Iranian word that's in Iranian culture, friendship is like one of the most important things. And they have like sayings and a lot of things about having friends and how having friendship is important. And there's a saying and a word that speaks directly to what you're describing, which is like the person is, it fits, it's comfortable. Oh, I'm going to ask him right now.
Do it.
But the person is comfortable.
Do it.
And it's what you're describing, which is like right when you walk in, it's like, oh, I could just be in a living room watching TV with you and it would be comfortable. I call this car people, but that's a long thing. But
That makes sense. So I know what you mean. Like you could sit in a car with them and just take a
Who
road
you
trip to
could be in a
Buckfuck.
car with. Yeah.
yeah.
For a very long time. Interesting.
Good one.
And I have this, even with family, I have this superstition because I live as far away from my family as I could and still be in the continental United States. So every time my sibling, and I love my family, I'm very close to my family, but very far away. And every time my siblings have had a baby, I've made it a priority to go back and be there for like the first week or two, if I can. And it's really helpful. My family used to always make fun of me for being such a night owl. And then when you're a night owl going from the West Coast to the East Coast, it's ridiculous, right? I would sleep really late and get up, a really hard adjustment. And they would always make fun of me for that. And then when they all had babies, it made me the best auntie night nurse so they could sleep and I would keep the baby entertained and quiet. But I always felt like this baby is smelling me and somewhere in its brain it's imprinting that I am family. And I still believe that that's true. Because
I like that.
Yeah. And I think it's related to this eye contact thing and this like performing together where we do connect above and beyond our intellect, right? There's just some guttural, physical connection that we make.
I call it Hannibalism.
Please elaborate. Please.
So we're human. Like it's like when we are humans, but we have certain things of animals. So we're like we're animals. Yeah. So like, and it also applies to people you don't like. There are people that they've not done anything wrong to me, but I'm like, the animal in me, we don't like, it doesn't work. I don't like your smell. I don't like your energy. And it's Hannibalism. Like we're animals. We're human animals. And just like my dog, like when I walk Foxy down the street and she sees some motherfucker she doesn't like, she's like, fuck you, buddy. And I'm like, all right, she doesn't like you.
Toddlers are good at that too. Toddlers are very good at that. You know, they'll be like, no, not you. You know, and you're like, okay. Yeah. And I wish, I guess, as people, we just have been programmed to be like, to smooth that. But I know the feeling very well.
Walk right up to you and be like, you're unhappy. And you're like, fuck, I am.
Oh, John Tim's really good. John Tim's really easy to get along with for most people. So when he says, John Tim, who's been doing all of our tech, everybody, if you forgot, John Tim. And wrote that opening credits music. Thank you, John. But he's my radar because I'm always excusing people. First, I'm always like, I don't know where that came from in my life that I'm like, this person is annoying me. What's wrong with me that I need to change so this person is not annoying? And John is always the one who's like, if he gets like a red flag on somebody because he's so warm and likable to most people that if he's like, ooh, I don't know about that person, I got to listen.
John is an animal. He's a Hannibal.
He is. He's very in tune with his Hannibal.
He's a Hannibal detector. His Hannibal detection is right on point.
That's right.
I think I'm Hannibal Lecter.
How long have you been working on that one?
I'm eating a Dorito that my son gave me.
She's an improviser. She just made it up, like out of the air. Out of the air.
Like I was like,
it happens like magic.
We're all Hannibal.
Improv happens like magic.
It's so in the difference. Wendy's daughter, like of Wendy and Laurie fame, Wendy's daughter Tallulah is like 6 or 7. And so the difference between like I'm an improv uncle to her, but I'm a family uncle to my nieces and nephews. So we're at Easter and Tallulah, she looks at me and she goes, "Your teeth are dirty." And Wendy's like, Tallulah. And I, because it's an improv niece, said, "That's right. Do you know why? Because when I was your age, I didn't brush my teeth." And Wendy goes,
Yes.
but if that was a blood niece or nephew, I would look at my sibling and go, "What the fuck is wrong with this kid?"
Oh my God. We are at a party at Susan's house, and it's hot, and there's a kiddie pool, and everyone has their feet in the pool. And my kid, who's still young, is like throwing rocks in the pool. And then he picks up a rock and throws it at one of our buddies, Ryan Archibald. And before I can even be like, "Tosh, it's not nice," Arch had picked up a rock and threw it right back at my kid. And then I had to be like, "The two of you, get over here. What the hell is wrong with you?"
That happened to me with Patty Styles. She got in my car and Foxy was in my car. And the moment she got in my car, I was like, "My dog is barking at Patty Styles, fuck!" And Patty turns around and she's like, she just isn't like, she's got a problem. It's fine. I'm like, okay.
She hates me, whatever.
It's one of my favorite Smack the Pony sketches. Y'all know they're all women sketch group from the 90s, I think, in the UK. And there's two fancy ladies with their two fancy dogs walking by each other on the street. And the dogs are perfectly polite. And the women just go,
That's good.
One of my favorite blackouts ever written was by a student. And it's like a person on stage and they're a cat and they're like just being a cat. And a girl walks through and the cat goes, "Meow." And the woman walks right over to the cat and is like, "You son of a bitch." And I was like, what a simple, clean, beautiful blackout about cat calling.
That's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. She got catcalled, literally.
You son of a bitch. Amazing. So Rachel, you have, just to shift gears a little bit, you have a project coming up with Shari.
Yes, our buddy.
Yeah, our friend who I met through Joe, and she helped us with a bunch of projects early in the pandemic. And you all are doing a project using improv and like a cross section of improv and social justice. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that project?
Well, if you know me, I love satire. And basically the definition of satire is to like, well, I'll read you the fucking definition of satire because it's one of my favorite things in the whole goddamn world. Is this fine?
Yes.
Ready? Satire. Artistic form, chiefly literary and dramatic, in which human or individual vices, follies, or abuses are or shortcomings are held up to censure by means of ridicule, derision, burlesque, irony, parody, and caricature or other methods. I invite you to imagine what other methods are, with an intent to inspire social reform. And everyone forgets about the second part of that. Everyone only thinks about the first part. Mm-hmm. Like, this is like spoonful of sugar shit. Like, if we make it funny, the medicine will go down. So we want to make comedy out of shit you wouldn't make comedy out of.
That's
like,
amazing.
Rachel, what was your suggestion from you and me? Remember you said that the other day? That we're both like, what are we, abortions, fetuses? What were we?
What?
Remember the other day when you were talking about this project and you were like, "Oh, as if we were abortions or fetuses," or remember you gave an example.
Yeah, like we could be two fetuses in a womb. Being like, there was a third, IVF is hard. Right? My money is on you dying next.
Well, Stacey likes it. That's important.
I do. I am both dark and a fan of, I have a very dark sense of humor, though, for sure. But that's why,
Well, we make it worse. I told you. We
Yes.
told you that earlier. Rachel and I make it worse. And if you're lucky, it might be worst.
Worst.
I mean, and that's why I happened to fall in love with Second City because I saw that show that was directed by Mick. That was that cast that we talked about. That was about truth, right? It had this whole opening about honesty, and then it had it was meaningful, and then the meaning was reflected in the form itself, the way that those sketches replayed from different points of view. That
Right,
fucking,
it was much more heraldy.
oh my god, the scene with you and
Casserole.
yes,
It's Casserole.
I mean, talk
Tammy
about dark as fuck,
and
right?
Stephanie.
Yeah.
Well, the story behind Casserole is actually kind of fascinating in the sense that I would watch Mick direct, and he seemed to always take on one scene in a show that he would really, really work on, that he really needed to make sure to protect content so that people would laugh. And Casserole was that, because I think it was either Tammy or Stephanie, probably Tammy, who came into rehearsal and said, wouldn't it be funny if we beat the shit out of Susan? And I'm so stupid. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Because that's funny.
Yes, it would be.
So we had this scene that, like, my husband Mick abused me physically, and I wasn't listening to what my friends were saying to me as part of an intervention, and they got so frustrated they started like beating the shit out of me. And the night staff came up to either Mick or us or at one point or the other, because they watch it. The wait staff was extremely important at Second City because they saw this shit every night. And I think it was Heather Winna and Allison Riley who said, that's not going to fly. That's not funny. That's not okay. So then we really left-brained it and thought of doing those fantasy sections so that somebody in their fantasy has the right to do whatever the fuck they want to somebody, but somebody just doing it wasn't okay. So I thought that was really,
Protect
really smart.
content.
And then they
Protect
were also, they had weaknesses and vulnerabilities. They weren't
Yep.
perfect. And so we got to see
Nope.
their dark sides. It was just so complex to handle something so heavy. I saw Elisa's face like, I can't imagine how this worked, right?
That's right. That's right.
I have no
And when
idea.
I
I'm
hand
like,
it to
I'm afraid to
students-
ask what the hell.
So
is
the
happening.
sketches, three women get together, and they're having casserole, and it's like ladies' night, and they all
Yeah.
have relationship issues, but they're very frustrated with their friend who's letting herself be, stay, who is choosing to stay in this abusive relationship, and is defending.
I always had an excuse.
She was
Yeah,
kept
I always had an
defending her.
excuse, and I was very perky.
Sure.
Yeah. But they also end up being miserable, and it's not happening in real life that they're abusing her, but they get so frustrated that they fantasize about it. And so it's just handled just right. I mean, it
But
really,
now it might not be. Now somebody could see that and say, I'm triggered watching someone get abused, even
For
in a
sure.
fantasy sequence.
for sure.
I teach in the comedy studies program, and we do archival scenes, and it's rare that people want to put their hands on that scene. And when they do, we have to we have to address triggers.
Yeah. And we did, for when I was in the directing program, I did Toe. This
That is another scene that students look at it and they're like, what?
So
Wait,
Toe,
explain Toe. I can't remember
is
Toe.
Rachel Dratch is caught in
And
a
Dorf's at the window.
car. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
It's so Rachel Dratch is in the car. Her car's broken down. It's thunder, lightning. The lights
Oh,
are
I
going
remember
on.
that one. Oh, yes, yes,
and
yes,
he
yes,
comes
yes,
up.
yes, yes.
He's got a hood on. He's like knocking.
Horrible.
Hey, can I help you? And then we see all of her scenario.
Worst
Yes,
case
worst case scenarios
yeah.
of what might
Yeah, they're
happen.
hard. It's a harsh one. It's brilliant, but it's
and then when
harsh.
I did it, I cast a black actor in Scott Adsett's role, which added this whole new level of race to it that we had to really talk about and think about how, it went beyond just a woman, a white woman with a white man stranger to a white woman and a black man stranger there.
That's not the scene they wrote, but that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because that's its own bitch.
It is, and it reminds me of Defiant Thomas Brothers. How much they would that one sketch they have where they keep reversing roles and like talk about a mind fuck. When I watched that, I was just like, holy shit. So for those who don't know, Defiant Thomas Brothers had this scene. One of them is black, one of them is white. They're both men, but one's driving and gets pulled over. And this is even, obviously years and years ago, but one gets pulled over by a cop.
Ahead of its time, years ago.
Way ahead of its time. One gets pulled out by a cop, and then you re-see the scene with the races reversed, or one is with a president. I specifically remember when Paul is being like doing the presidential things, and Seth is in the back being the security, and my brain was like, oh, a president and a security guard. And then when they switched places and Seth, who is the black performer of the two, was being presidential, I was like, he's being Jesse Jackson. My brain specifically named like the politician at the time that it could have met. It wasn't like your generic president. It was like he's being. I was like, fuck you, brain. Like you see what your brain does without you even wanting it. And so as much as we talk about the frustrations with Second City and its many failings as an organization, the satire and the ability to handle these dark things and tough topics is
they don't own satire.
No.
They made their bones on it because the founders were brilliant and educated and assholes.
Right.
But like satire has existed since the Greeks, like the Greeks invented satire.
Yeah.
The Romans gave it the name satire, but the Greeks they didn't have the word, but they had the concept. They used the word skepticism instead of satire, which is fucking, again, super cool.
Yeah.
It might be best, if you would love to keep an institution like that alive, to keep their best and hire their best. And I don't know. That's just the way I think.
I just got fired from the Second City.
Why?
What? Wait, what just happened?
Why?
No, that's real. That's not a bit. I was, in fact, let go from the Second City after defining and designing what satire was for them.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I can read you what I wrote about you because I just like this part. Here, I'm going to go into the sent pile because I sent it to them. I sent a letter to Second City because I'm Switzerland, right?
Yeah, you're Switzerland. If there's one note, this isn't
neutral.
She's Switzerland.
Super neutral.
Wait, shit, where do I do this? How do I find this? How do I find the sent?
Are you in
When
Google?
did I do that, Rachel? That was like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago? What day would that be?
I don't remember. It would be Audia, maybe?
Yeah, I sent a letter to Second City.
On my behalf. I didn't ask her to do it. And it was real nice. And
Did you send it to the building or did a human get it?
A bunch of humans got it who were apparently, yeah, here we go. I think this is Rachel Mason. Yeah, okay. So, why is this weird? Okay. Rachel has written some of the Second City's very best curriculum and was one of your most outstanding teachers. She was an instructor for the Second City Conservatory, redesigned the A through E program, created the Satire Salon, provided materials for the Bob Curry Fellowship, and developed curriculum for the Harold Ramis Film School. She helped sell the Second City to DePaul and taught for DePaul's and Columbia College's Comedy Studies programs. She established the one-to-one coaching and the dramatic improv programs, as well as teaching musical improv. She also performed for the Second City National Touring Company, the Second City Improv All-Stars, and The Boys. Those were just some of the things I wrote about what you'd done with Second City.
Shit canned, y'all. I got shit canned.
Did they give you a reason, Rachel?
What was the reason? To quote Cardi B.
We don't know. Do we know?
So the real reason is because I'm a loudmouth. I'm an expensive loudmouth. That is the real reason.
I can relate.
The secret reason, or like the reason
on paper,
at least what, like the cause, like what we're able to put together is that they had heard I was speaking favorably about the annoyance in one of my classes and was thereby wasting valuable class time by talking about a competing training center, and that was theft of services.
What the fuck?
If you wanted to
such
put a
a
nail
load
in
of-
the coffin of Community, they did it.
Garbage.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wrote that because I said, one of the things I said was, perhaps you have forgotten our history, but in the 90s, the Annoyance, the IO, and the Second City agreed to support each other's efforts in creating a cohesive training ground where everyone ultimately becomes the best performer they can be. I myself was hired for the Second City main stage based on my body of work at the Annoyance, and my entire, and my entire main stage cast was trained at the IO.
The new owners
I have
don't
been
care.
asked more-
They don't care about history.
I've always been asked, like, if I'm at IO, I always talk about how Second City is amazing for social and political satire. If I'm at the Annoyance, I'm saying how IO is great for group cohesion and whatever the fuck it is. Every building has its merits and joy, and how
The
lucky
Annoyance
we were
is
in
where you
Chicago.
develop your point of view.
Right.
You had all these
Yep.
places to just work those muscles and find the kind of performer you want to be, doing the kind of work
Okay.
you want to do.
So this is where remember one of the first fucking Inside Improv episodes where this badass bitch right here started saying the artistic is gonna go this way and the executive is gonna go this way if it is run. And I don't mean executive like
Our
John
art
Carr
and
executive.
business. Our
Yeah.
art and
I
business.
mean ownership, right?
Oof.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean
you know
ownership,
why?
exactly.
Because you can create a web series or a series in your basement, and I mean, you can do whatever the fuck you want, and then you can sell it. But I would say that if you don't like an institution, that maybe you shouldn't be there, and you don't have to. You don't have to be. I
Right.
feel like you can go wherever the fuck you want because I work for everyone. Everyone owns me. Nobody owns me. But I love everybody and I want them to do great. But I said, you do not want to be I said, you call yourself fearless comedy. You do not want to be an institution based in fear.
Yeah.
What the fuck
And
are
that-
they doing?
Uh-oh.
It's very
Oh,
upsetting.
Joe's
Joe
like,
goes-
fuck
Joe
this.
got so
I'm
excited.
done.
Hit the wrong button.
Joe's on his
Joe's
way
a
to
ghost.
Second City.
Joe's a ghost. Joe's
Yeah.
a ghost, and Joe's a
We don't
ghost.
need him.
Where
There he
is
is.
Joe? He's very
There he
great.
is.
Joe,
There he is.
Joe, where'd you go? You got so excited.
Where'd
you just
go,
kicked
Joe?
yourself out.
Joe, you win.
Yep. No, it's gonna
Where'd you go?
just because Second City is going to be brand conscious, and now like every human is becoming their own brand, and so
Yeah.
these fuckers that own these places are going to say, does this individual brand fit within the larger brand, and then how can the larger brand wield its influence and keep the smaller brand humans in check? And so if you're selling
Small brand,
if you're-
small.
if your brand is endorsing this other brand, and it's like, and we'll see who survives.
It's business, right? It's just
But we're
business.
But it's
teachers.
bad
Like, if
business,
we're
though.
teachers-
It is
That's
bad
the thing.
business.
That's the thing.
It's terrible business.
But
You
like
don't get to
Susan
just
said,
say
now
it's
I'm
just
free.
business anymore.
Nobody
No.
owns me now, and I can do things like the social justice improv project.
Right.
Nobody owns me.
Right.
Right, because
Well,
you would have hoped to do that at Second City, and now you can't.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly what they should have been tapping you for versus booting you out the door is like, wow, Rachel, look at your incredible understanding and depth of knowledge and experience in satire comedy. Can you
We
lead-
wrote your curriculum. She wrote their own curriculum. They make bajillions, or they did before the pandemic, bajillions off their fucking classes.
And I'll
they'd
tell
be like,
you-
people are bored. Maybe they'll stay in the building. They're like, what you got now? So there all of a sudden stand up happened and all this other shit. And we're going, okay, and clowning and everything is great. I'm making fun of no one. I'm just like to say clowning. So that's just what I'm doing.
But that's
But-
go ahead.
It's just a lot of fucking foolishness. It's petty. It's
The thing
stupid.
is that
it's
the people
human
that are
resources.
buying these, the people that are buying this place, again, this is another thing that I had said, like they have no idea how the improv industry actually is from within. So how are they going to make?
In
That's
fact, it's
really upsetting.
antithetical to their processes.
Right.
You fight the man and they are the man. So it's like, okay.
Right.
Second City became the thing it satirized.
Well, if you think about it, Second City became Grand Theft Auto. Now think about it. You fuck a whore, you throw her in your trunk, then
Punch
you
her
go
in
to
the
the
face.
pizza parlor. Wait a minute,
Yep.
I'm not done.
I really wish you were.
You kill everyone in the fucking pizza parlor, then you eat their pizza, then you walk out without paying and get in your car
on a
and drive away.
speedboat.
That's Second City, and it's
Wow.
owned by
Drop
the
that
guy
mic,
who owns
Susan.
that.
Drop that mic, baby. Drop that mic.
I'll be
there's
happy to
just
let that power set be. Who are they?
just so
I hear
many.
he has good. I hear he has good abs. I,
I
want
was
to meet this
like,
abs guy.
I'm that whore. I'm that whore.
wanna meet
Honestly,
that guy and touch his abs.
I would rather that they said we fired Rachel because she's a loudmouth and expensive than because she
shit.
mentioned annoyance. Because here's
But they
the
didn't even
I
say
said the
that.
same thing to Susan. Like, just tell me you're a loudmouth bitch and get the fuck out of here, or
I
not.
didn't say anything.
Right.
They were just cruel and rude, and it was draconian. That's what I think.
Hey, if Paul Sills wasn't a loudmouth bitch, nobody was.
yeah, right.
Paul Sills threw
He
chairs
was
at
a
people,
loudmouth
and
bitch.
he was
I
an
was-
asshole.
I was in a
bitch.
workshop with him yelling. It made a bunch of people cry.
Fuck him.
Yeah.
Fuck
Alan
that.
I mean,
Arkin
Del
did
Close
too.
made a bunch of
People cry.
people cry. Everybody made
I
a
love Del, but fuck him. He was just because he was nice to me doesn't mean that's cool. My
Right.
job is
Right.
not to berate a student and break them down until they're a piece of mush and then they become your fucking acolyte.
No, our job
Or they're
is
not
to
your
build
muse.
you
They're
up.
not your anything. They're your fucking
Yes.
students. Be nice. The fuck is wrong with you?
So
Yeah.
Susan.
Fuck John Mellencamp.
Again, he's not a Nazi.
Now I
He's
know.
not a
Fucking
Nazi.
now
Nazi.
I know why you
Get it.
said
Not
John
a Nazi.
Mellencamp's a Nazi. It all comes
Not a
clear
Nazi.
now.
You guys, life's a herald. Life's a herald. Life is a herald.
Harold, this has been our opening. First
Yeah.
beats. Let's go.
Well, Rachel, where can people? You're doing auditions, so this is a good time to mention that people can audition for this program with you, right? Anywhere?
Yes, they can.
Can they be anywhere in the
social-
world?
Anywhere in the world. There's a video component. We're going to stream in from all over the world, and there's going to be a live performance in New York City. Social Justice Improv Project at gmail.com.
Great. And there'll be stipends, so there will be some pay for performers, which is important when you're doing a social justice project, I would say.
Yeah.
Which is great. Shari got a grant for that, which is awesome. Are you all still doing your, I don't even know what to call it, your live stream with Rich?
The Jingle Boys.
And
We're
Neil,
going to come back, I think, the end of September. The boy, that's our summer break.
Okay.
So that would be nice. Maybe the 3rd or 4th week of September. That'd be nice.
And if somebody,
Yeah.
where do they go if somebody wants to see that?
Chicago for Real on Twitch.
For real, like a 4 and a real.
for real.
Is
Great.
it REEL or REAL? REAL.
Real. Like
R-E-A-L.
as an actual.
Same channel as Bochinche.
That's right. So if you saw Lori and Wendy on our show just prior to them becoming artistic directors, co-artistic directors, then they're on that same Chicago for Real, which is a cooperative
Started
channel.
by a bunch of great improvisers who just wanted to put out the best, funniest, most awesome content their friends could make.
And who understand that we're better together and stronger together than apart. So.
Yes. Yes.
Are the two of you doing a set at the Annoyance anytime soon too?
We did
again?
it.
I know
We did
it
a
was
few
sold
weeks
out.
ago.
Even old alumni couldn't get in.
What?
Oh,
Mick would have walked me in if I would have went, but it was just like I called and I talked to somebody. I was just like, yeah, hey, can I get in? No, they're sold out. Oh, okay. But
And
Sure, just-
I'm
like
happy
they
for you.
I don't want to like get the annoyance in trouble. It was packed to the COVID max. Like they couldn't let more people in.
right. Because
they're
trying to
doing
be
a
safe.
great job over there. And if anybody in our audience gets a chance to see Susan and Rachel play, see it. Bring a notepad. Enjoy.
Joe Bill, you've just been covered in sweet today.
I love you both.
Yeah, and I would love you both to come to Portland. Susan, your trip was just so amazing.
They were great. Everybody was great. You were great. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Playing with you, I've described, I don't know if you saw my post, there's that old Buster Keaton clip of him like a train, and he's like running, and he just catches the train and he's flying in the air, holding on. I was like, that was me keeping up with Susan Messing.
That is not true.
No, it's amazing. It was exhilarating. Like, I was just like, I just gotta keep,
Motion seconded.
Okay, I've got to say right now, I expected today to come on here and be canceled like I should be, and then all of a sudden there's like this bet, like I had cancer. So thank you all. This has been very sweet.
It was
very
pretty borderline, I'd say.
And I appreciate it.
Elise is the one who was going to tell you the most.
Elise, I would have canceled I'll cancel myself a million times before anybody has a chance to cancel.
Yeah,
and you're right. I should be canceled.
What it comes down to is how
now
sweet.
I'll just go. Yeah.
Well, my loves, we've been talking for a long time, so I guess I will wrap it up. But we could also do this again sometime because I'm sure there'd be a fresh hour's worth of things to talk about. You're both.
Oh my God, we're so grateful.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks,
you, everybody.
Elise. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you,
Thank you.
Love you.
Yay!
That was so
I laughed
important.
hard.
Yay.
I loved it.
Thanks for sharing that news, Rachel.
Thanks, Herb. I laughed a lot.
You guys, we did it.